Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here with Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and today I want to chat with you guys about the fastest way to put on 10 pounds of muscle. But a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, be greatly appreciated, and drop me a comment if you would. Thank you so much. So let's get over into this topic. I do feel like with a lot of guys who they've been training just a little while, they maybe started, they've been training 3 months, 6 months, made some gains, and then everything seems to slow down, and they're like, why can't I seem to gain more muscle? What's going on? What's wrong? And as a coach who fixes a lot of these problems, there's a lot of reoccurring themes that I personally see, because I do get guys who come to me with that. Yes, I do coach elite lifters. Yes, I get a lot of advanced guys. Yes, my specialty is dudes over 40. Like, we know this already. But, and of course, high-level power lifters. But that aside, I get a lot of these younger guys. They come to me and, we look at what they're doing, right? I look at what they're doing, and they're not focusing on the basics. They're doing way too much volume, too much fluff, too much junk without enough focus on basic progressive overload. They get caught up in the ideas, but this bodybuilder did all this stuff on just these machines with lots of isolation, and they're forgetting, one, these are guys who already had a base. And keep in mind, most of your really serious bodybuilders, built their base on big movements. And they're on tons and tons and tons and tons of drugs. That affects their ability to do certain things. And they have to understand the side effects of a lot of that. And that's a really complicated topic. I've done whole videos on it. I would say to those of you chiming in, trust me, take my word on it. I've done very detailed videos on why that is. But even guys like Arnold used to tell people, look, you can't chisel a pebble, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger, arguably the most famous Mr. Olympia of all time. Pretty much the most famous, most well-known out there. He said that. And he even had people start on 6 or 7 exercises. He had a little golden 7, I think it was called, to where he had people just do some basic movements and progress on them. He's like, this is how you build a base, right? He's like, you can't chisel a pebble. And it seems like a lot of times guys are like, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in and I'm going to spend all this time isolating, just a bicep or something, and they haven't built any base, and they don't understand a lot of parts of your body kind of grow together. In other words, the fastest way sometimes to, put an inch on your bicep is to just get bigger, gain muscle everywhere, and then do a little bit of bicep work with it. You're going to get that overall stimulus, okay? And they forget that, and they do just too much. And they don't recover, and they're not focused. And I think that's 2 points that have to be thought about if we're going to talk about gaining muscle quickly. One, you're not recovering. If you're doing so much just junk volume and work that you're not recovering so much session to session, you're going to have less muscle growth, okay? And if you're not recovering, you're not able to perform session to session. And I want guys to understand that. If you're fatigued, I don't mean sore, okay? We can train through soreness. What you can't do is train through fatigue that is impeding your performance. You won't stimulate new muscle growth, right? It's going to limit your ability to gain muscle if you're not able to perform at a high level every workout. Okay, you're getting a low quality stimulus. Well, low quality stimulus equals less muscle growth. Like, this is very straightforward. But it's also the same thing when they come in and they want to do large amounts of volume instead of simply training hard. I've seen guys who are doing 25 sets for a muscle group, and they're like, why am I not getting stronger? Why am I not getting bigger? Like, I don't even look like I lift, and they'll have been doing this for months. And they're like, I've had people come to me doing that. They're like, my bench is stuck. I'm struggling to bench one plate beside for 5 reps, and it's been stuck there for months. And they're doing like 6 different chest exercises, 25 sets a week. And it's like, well, there's your problem. You're not focused on what you're doing, okay? And I'll take that person down to 9 or 10 sets for a muscle group a week, really hard sets, and all of a sudden they're gaining muscle. They start gaining muscle, okay? Because they're not focusing on every set. If you're coming in and doing endless amounts of work, you are literally not focusing on what you're doing. You're holding a lot back all the way through. There's lack of focus, lack of drive through the first parts of the workouts. And the same thing, they'll even neglect lower body stuff without realizing your squats and deadlifts help your upper body grow. And hopefully guys understand this. And this is not myth. People say, oh, that's not true. Yet it's been confirmed in the lab. Okay. We've seen it even in studies. So both in the real world and in clinical trials, we've seen squats and deadlifts make the upper body grow. Like an MRI, I'm like, wow, the upper body muscles all through the trunk grew. Okay. It matters. And I would say to most guys out there, look, if you just came in and focused on about 5 lifts, like if you're stuck, and this is what I would say to guys who are stuck, they're like, I'm not gaining muscle. I want to gain another 10 pounds of muscle. How do I do it fast? I'm not gaining anything. And no, I'm not going to tell you need to bulk and gain a bunch of fat. Okay. I'm not going to tell you to bulk your way up. Like if you want to gain 10 pounds of muscle, why do you need to gain more than 10 pounds of body weight? And you're not going to gain it fast. So let's say you wanted to gain it over the next year. We'll gain 10 pounds over the next year. That's literally all you have to do. A lot of these guys could recomposition, stay about the same weight and still do it. If you're not really, really lean, you don't have a 6-pack already, this is not a problem. So back over to that point. What do you need to do? I'd pick about 5 exercises, maybe 6. And I'll just give you a sample. Look, squat and deadlift. Absolutely probably need to be doing them. Okay? Guys can argue all they want. They will make not only your lower body, but your upper body grow. Okay? And it's not because of the hormone release. It's because of all the load and tension placed on the body. All right. You know, maybe a bench press, maybe a row. So 4 big exercises, right? Because you may not be strong enough to do pull-ups. And that's okay. And no, I don't feel a lat pull down is an adequate replacement. So those 4 big movements, and like, well, what about my arms? We'll do some curls. So I would say that could be a 5th, right? That could be a 5th. So if you took any one of these guys who, you know, you haven't finished out all your new gains, you want to put on 10 pounds of muscle, I would literally come in and focus on 5 exercises. Now, if you wanted a 6th, hey, an overhead press could work really well there. Okay, an overhead press could work really well if you really wanted a 6th. But even then, 5 movements. And I challenge anyone to show me that people wouldn't get bigger from that. And don't tell me novices don't grow triceps from bench pressing. It's been done in the lab repeatedly. Okay? But what if you did those 5 movements? Squat, bench, deadlift, a barbell row off the floor, and a barbell curl. Right? Come in and do curls. Strict curls, like real strict curls. And you progressively overloaded those. Meaning, what could you do? Double progression would be fine. So let's say you're a later novice. You got a little bit of gains and then you stalled. You could take any of those movements and do something like 5 to 8 reps, right? You go higher rep on the rows or the curl. The curls you may want higher. But you could do something like 5 to 8 reps on those. Okay? And you don't need that many sets, right? You don't need that many sets. If you want to do full body, you could do literally 2 sets of the squats. You could do 2 to 3 sets of all these exercises 3 days a week, right? Progressively overload them. Okay, so say you do a weight you can do 5 reps with. Keep adding reps. When you can get to 8 reps, add weight, start over. Okay, so let's say the first week or 2 you manage to get 5s, and then you get 6, 7, 8. Once you get to 8 reps, any of those movements, when you're capable of doing 8 reps, you can put another 5 pounds on that bar, 10 pounds on that bar, until it goes down to about 5 or 6. Repeat the process. Just do a double progression. All right, focus on those 4 movements plus a barbell curl. Right, a real strict barbell curl. If you can't get your wrist right on it or it hurts your forearms, which I have tutorials on how to do, you can do an easy curl. You can do a dumbbell curl, but you need a big movement, a big, heavy standing movement, and those meet the bill still. Right, a barbell curl is still a big movement, done correctly. Right, and if you have anything left and you want to do some laterals or triceps or calves, go ahead. You can do some pump work for those at the end. It won't hurt you, but don't come in and do 20 sets of it. But as long as you're getting about 6 to 8 sets a week for all those muscles, 6 to 9, and you're pushing them really hard on progression, you're going to make gains. Your whole body will grow from that. Could you throw in an overhead press or a calf raise or something? Sure. I don't have a problem with that. But what you don't need to be doing is trying to do 20 sets of muscle group and endless pump volumes. You need to be focusing on progression, adding weight to the bar over time on some basic movements, and then be able to recover from it. And that's the key.